All right, week 6 college football breakdown here. Really good Pac-12 matchup here. The defending Pac-12 champ, Utah, heading to LA, not to take on USC. That'll be next week in Salt Lake City, taking on UCLA. Utah on the road is a 3.5-point favorite in this spot. And as you might expect in a UCLA game, pretty high total at 64.5. This game could go one of many directions. I understand why Utah is, over a field goal road favorite. They're a physical team. We saw what happened when they stepped up in competition within the Pac-12 last year. I mean, think back to those Oregon games. Now, the one thing I will say, this UCLA team is just not built like that Oregon team was. I really like this UCLA offense. DTR is a fifth-year starter at the quarterback position. Was a highly recruited guy that started playing immediately as a true freshman. He's continually gotten better over time. We saw it last week when they played Washington. He can beat teams with his arm. He can beat teams with his legs. I wouldn't say he's got elite talent on the outside, but he's got guys like Jake Bobo, guys who have played a lot of college football and just a good crew of solid wideouts. But Zach Charbonnet, UCLA's running back, he's having a really good year. You remember him from his time at Michigan, really just a bruiser at that position, physical back. I'm not sold on Utah in certain areas. Their run defense, I mean, seeing them against Florida was able to establish a run in that game, and a big part of that was Anthony Richardson and his throw as a runner. Well, you're facing that same sort of offense this week, and UCLA is a much better offense than Florida's. Charbonnet is a more physical back than Florida has, and I think DTR is clearly the better quarterback than Anthony Richardson. So, I mean, Utah has really played a pretty easy schedule since that game. Teams like San Diego State, even last week against Oregon State, it's just a much different style. I mean, we were talking about dual threat quarterbacks who can also beat you deep, pretty hard to defend. So I could see a world where UCLA actually has a pretty good deal of success here. Now, the reason why Utah is the road favorite and the reason why I don't necessarily disagree with this line, I do have some concerns about UCLA's defense. We know what Utah is going to want to do. They're going to come out, establish the run game with Tavion Thomas. Another concern there, though, is Tavion Thomas has not been as effective here in 2022 as he was a year ago. Some of that might go on him. Some of that might go on the offensive line. But Utah's quarterback, Cam Rising, he takes care of the football. He's a pretty experienced player at this point. I think he's kind of become more than a game manager, plenty capable of taking advantages of this UCLA defense. Utah is going to be a prety balanced attack. And so I do think they should be able to have success against UCLA. That being said, I'm not going to have a play on this game. I sort of do agree with the line. If I had to play it, I would take the points with UCLA at home. It feels very similar to last week's game. The issue is it's just a much different matchup. I do think Utah should be able to win this game up front. And from there, I know Utah might not be a sexy team, but there's a reason they won the Pac-12 last year. Don't underestimate the impact that DTR's legs are going to have in this game. Chip Kelly is a brilliant offensive mind. He's going to have this UCLA team with 8 days to prepare, ready to roll. I think this is going to be one of the best games to watch of the day. Should come down to the wire. Ultimately, I agree with the line. Wouldn't be surprised if the over 64.5 comes through here. I do think that number kind of has accounted for some of the things I talked about with UCLA's offense. And ultimately, I just don't quantify Utah as an over team. They're on the road. So I am going to pass on that. No play in this game. Should be a great one to watch. All right, guys, before we get out of here, I know you see the shirt right here, going with the Miami Vice theme today. If you're looking for some new golf apparel, head over to proud90.com. Unique but very comfortable polos. It's colder weather coming. They've also got hoodies and quarter zips as well. Proud 90's got all your golf apparel needs, so browse their selection. If you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your order. That's code Fordham at proud90.com is going to get you 15% off your order. Support me, support Proud 90. The rest of the information will be in the description below.